So Alex, what boats have you sailed before?
I've sailed a laser, quite proficient as a child on my laser. An El Toro. I've sailed a 25-footer with you at the helm mostly as a kid.
And how do you feel about moving up from those small boats to a boat that's 38 feet long?
Yeah, I feel I'm excited to learn and do it, but I'm a little nervous about the weight of the boat, the size of the boat, making sure I don't mess anything up in the marina, do anything wrong. You know, I want to understand exactly what's going on.
Well, let's do it.
Okay.
See that the pin is on a diagonal?
Yes, and I thought it was this diagonal.
Well, look at the way the pin is set.
Right.
Back and forth.
Oh, why was that so difficult?
So that's there because ultraviolet light is really hard on hatches, and that's what makes them crazed over the years. So what if that fell in the water?
Yeah, it would have been bad.
Probably better to step onto the dock and place it there next time.
Oh, really?
Well, it's 110 volts. So as you can see, everything on this boat's a little bigger than you're used to. And stronger and heavier. But it all operates the same way, basically, as a laser or even an El Toro dinghy. And as you can see, all the lines on this boat are led back to the cockpit through these, they call them deck organizers, which allows one person back in the cockpit to control most of the strings on the boat. This is an auxiliary sailboat, meaning it has an auxiliary engine, in this case a 4-cylinder universal diesel, 32 horsepower, that we used to get, you know, in and out of these confined slips. So let's learn the vagaries of the diesel engine and how to back this tug out of a slip that is only 2 feet wider than it is. It's a gear shift lever, right? Just like in a car. Forward is forward, so shift forward. Right. A good emphatic shift. Now back to neutral. Now shift into reverse. A good emphatic shift. Now back to neutral. Excellent. The other lever is the throttle, the gas pedal on the car. So one thing for sure when we're backing out, we want the rudder amidships so we're going in a straight line. And to do that, we always need to move the wheel all the way in one direction. So go ahead and do that. And it stops, and now you move it back the same number of turns to where the mark was straight up and down, and that proves to us that our rudder is amidships, and we could just leave it like that.
Okay.
Good. So before we start the engine, let's check to make sure we're in neutral and the throttle's in the upright position.
Yep.
And then you know what to do, I think. Grovel down on this boat and turn on the ignition. You press the glow plug, count to 10. Now, do you remember what the first thing we do is after we start the diesel? I'll tell you what it is.
We look back here.
Exactly. So the whole trick about backing this boat out is that it probably weighs 18,000 pounds, and so it has momentum, and there isn't much room to turn here in the dock. And there's another factor, and that's called prop wash. So we're 38 feet long, right? And if you look behind you, it's barely 38 feet to the boat behind us, and a 30 or 40 degree turn to get out into the fairway where we want to be. So how do we do that? In reverse, this boat tends to go that way because of the rotation of the propeller. And so turning backwards that way is difficult. Boat doesn't want to do it, but we'll use it to our advantage. So we're free of the lines now, and you haven't done a thing, right?
No.
See, the wind is carrying us back. You can give just one little jolt of reverse. Shift.
Shift and reverse.
Shift. And neutral. Neutral with a shift. Okay. That just got us going.
Okay.
See, we're going straight back. Okay, turn your wheel in reverse.
Turn the wheel in reverse. Yeah, I know.
Turn it. Turn the wheel. Now put it in reverse. Quickly. And you know what? I usually go into neutral about now on the gear shift because we don't need any more juice.
All right, we're in neutral.
And when you're going in the direction you want to go, shift into forward gear. How's it feel?
Good. Yeah, a little tricky trying to figure out the wheel.
You can turn the wheel faster than that. Now back the other way. Now back the other way. Look at your weight.
Wow.
Oh, 6.5 knots. Let's try to make a real tight circle and hold on.
Going this fast. Okay, ready? Roll down and...
Just remember to hold on to the wheel.
Okay.
And how very convenient on this pretty day for Alexandra to be cut off by two lads on a sailing dinghy who caused her to go first to idle power and then to make an evasive 90-degree turn across the main channel of Marina del Rey. They were exerting the right of a sailing vessel over a powered vessel, when of course with a flick of the wrist they could have borne off under our stern. Even so, an excellent opportunity to practice an emergency full stop.
Okay.
That's good. I know that we still have our sail cover on because I think today's a day for familiarity with the diesel. But when we get out into the ocean here in Santa Monica Bay, the Erickson 38 sails very well under jib alone, Genoa jib alone, and we'll try that, okay?
All right, sounds good.
So now to set our Genoa jib, we'll use the roller furling that we saw we got on the boat, that drum up on the bow that winds the sail up around the forestay. And so take hold of the roller furler line. That's it. Now when you grab the Genoa sheet, we're going to go onto this tack, right? So to pull it out, you'll need to pull out a Genoa sheet. And that will be this Genoa sheet here. So walk over behind the helm, take a hold of that, and then walk back to your roller furler sheet. You can do them both at once. And now hold on to that, and as you pull this, the sail will start to unfurl. And you can control the two of them. That's the spirit?
That's about as far as I can go.
That's fine. And now? And now?
Yeah.
And now 2 more turns are on that winch. And you can crank her in the rest of the way. Hold on 1 second. Now, a friendly helmsman can help you by heading up into the wind.
Oh, okay.
Don't tell anybody. That's good. It will bear off on. It will be a close reach. So we always take the winch handle out immediately we're finished with it and return it to its pocket. So how's it feel compared to a laser?
A heck of a lot bigger, that's for sure.
Why don't you feel your way up into the wind to see when it lofts, which is what I know you usually do.
Right. Yeah, right about there, we're a little uncomfortable. Not happy. Here we go.
Now what do? You just bring it down until it stops fluffing?
Yeah, that feels about the right angle.
And do those yarns, those telltales on the general immunity thing to you?
Yeah, I mean, they tell me the direction of the wind, and that's about it to me. What else do they tell us?
What they show is attached flow. When they are streaming, that means you have attached flow. When they stand up straight and wiggle, that means that you've screwed up big time.
Really?
So using them, alter your course subtly so that they only stream, they don't stand up.
So streaming is basically all 3 of them are just evenly going across at the same level, and standing up sort of means they're jumping and going straight up. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
So what would you say that the wind speed is today, judging by the way the water looks?
I'd say it's blowing about 15. I see some white caps.
What are you about? Did you take out all the slack? Okay. Good. Heartily. Ready about. Heartily. Gosh, I wish we had a crew who could clear it.
I think I can do it. Shall I?
Did you have to be asked? That's the spirit. A good crew never leaves any slack in anything. So do you feel like your head is full of stuff?
Well, a little bit, but not the end of the world. I mean, the engine stuff is a little, you know, tricky, but it's in there. I think I may have retained about 85%.
Well, that's an 85. That's a B+.
Good. Looks a little foul, Dad.
I'd say. There's a better way to do it.
Okay. And is he gonna... Wow, that is a lot of work.
Yeah, it's just a technique thing. So the idea is you keep some tension. Like we've always said, tension on the lines is always a big problem. And what happened was we let all tension off on the general sheet. And it just wobbled its way out.
I got this.
So when we approach the mooring, we're going to make a swooping turn so that we wind up going straight in and don't hit the sides.
Okay.
And I'll help you with that.
We're gonna swoop.
Begin your turn now, nice gentle turn. And since we're in neutral, we're just coasting.
Okay.
And our goal, as we said, is to not lose steerage way. Go slow, but never lose steerage way, because then we can't steer. And time it so that we go in without hitting the sides. And whenever you want to stop, you can always use reverse.
Okay.
Spin the wheel that way, spin the wheel hard.
It's spinning. Thank you.
And then to stop our forward progress, you always have reverse. That's where we want to end up. My goodness.
And that's where we are. Wow.
Great job. What did you mean when you said that I was yelling at you before you had time to process the information? What does that mean?
I think it just means that with a lot of practice, you can move a lot faster and do these things with more confidence.
So that's another way of saying yelling at somebody doesn't do any good?
Yeah, especially when they're a total learner, when they're a student. It takes a minute to process the information.
Heartily.
So what is it that I'm missing here? The other way? Aha! Sail ties?
Yes, some people call them sail gaskets. So let's go ahead and put the halyard on the headboard of the mainsail. This is a screw-in shackle, which I prefer on boats because it can't come undone.
All right. All tightened up.
Now we have a cleat on this boat that allows you to take that slack up. So pull the main halyard where it lies against the mast. Good. Now if you look down, you'll see that there's a cam cleat right on the mast. So put that line through the cam cleat. Put your back into it, that's the spirit. Good, and when you get to where you can't go any further, you know what to do. Bravo.
Right.
And you see that on this boat, there's a pile of very stiff Dyneema line at your feet. So we're going to have to thread all that stuff back to the cockpit before we can actually use the winch. And in the real world, somebody would be taking up tension as you did that if you had a crew. Does that look right? There's something wrong, isn't there? What do we suppose is wrong with that winch? That's a self-tailing winch.
Uh-huh. Oh. Oh. So what? I don't need that?
It's not through the self-tailing.
Oh,
There
right.
you go. Now a nice hard jam. Good, now you don't need your other hand and you can crank. Let's take a look at your winch wrap.
Oh yeah, that's not.
That's all right, just got to be pulled into the jaws further. You shouldn't need your left hand, theoretically. So this is the 2-speed winch, and one way's hard and one way's easy.
The hard way?
You tell me.
I don't know.
What do you know? That's easier, isn't it?
Oh. It's doing the same thing.
So take a good look up at your sail. So that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Good. Winch handle always goes back in the pocket instantly. Now take a trim your main sheet.
Okay.
Very good. That's one of the things that confuses people. It just takes a minute to get used to. And put that around the winch too, just for the fun of it, because that's what we would be doing if we were sailing. So that worked, right?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're just going to sort of bump it a little bit in reverse and then turn the steering wheel just a little bit to the left and just ease our way out slowly and go all the way back, adjust the steering wheel, and then head that way.
Right, and you're going to be aware of the prop walk issue.
Right.
That'll tend to pull you into that boat over there.
So I'm going to adjust the steering wheel.
As necessary. Here we go. That worked out pretty well.
Over yet?
Are you still in neutral?
Yeah, I'm in neutral.
What's your plan?
I'm going to put it in reverse a little bit more. Yeah, that prop walk is hardcore, isn't it? It wants to go all the way over.
Oh, you gotta go back to idle
Yeah,
before neutral.
All right, we're in neutral, forward, and we're going to go up on the throttle. We're going to check the steering wheel. We're going to go up more.
All the way, my dear. Defeated the lazy jack. Foul. That's 10 points. Probably good. What do you think?
Pretty good.
Okay.
Are we ready to turn off the engine?
I think so.
All right.
Well, good. Let's set our Genoa jib. Yeah, I'd keep one hand on the furler control line too, just so you feel like you're controlling it, you know? So is it all the way out, Al?
Yeah.
I don't know, that shouldn't be cleated.
Yeah.
There, that's why it didn't go all the way out. How's it feel? I noticed we have a problem with our Genoa. You can't see it, but this sail is only 2 years old,
Yeah.
but it's been 6,000 miles. And these protective covers, the Dacron is indestructible, but the thread gets UV on it from exposure and wears out.
Wow.
And I will take that home and put it through my sewing machine.
So on a laser, you're trimming the sails a lot and stuff, but you do that a lot less on bigger boats like this, right? It's more heading. If you feel like you want to slow down, you just head up into the wind. Is that correct? Because on a laser, I'm always holding onto the main sheet, which is far away.
Well, I think you did that because you didn't want to capsize, right? You had to keep spilling the wind.
Right.
And you weighed 87 pounds or something. That was a
Right.
full sail laser. It wasn't a laser radio.
Right, right.
And so on this boat, you don't have to worry about capsizing because there's 6,000 pounds of lead down there. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. The laser has a centerboard and it's inherently unstable by design.
Right.
So we're on a reach now, so our sails are kind of floppy. But so on the next tack, when we switch from starboard tack to port tack and go that way, you are going to grind the Genoa all the way in real tight.
Okay.
Ready about.
All right.
Have you checked for fouls? Heartily. Beautiful. Look at that tight Genoa. That's enough.
Is that good?
Yep.
Yeah, looks good.
And now you can trim the main sheet too because we're close hold. I'll head up so you won't have to use the winch. I'll just luff,
Okay.
and that'll make it easier for you.
Whoa.
And then I'll bear back off so we don't get in irons. So it's quite puffy in here. So when you're sailing short tacking, there's always a gravy tack. On this tack, port tack, we're just going perpendicular across from 90 degrees almost from our destination.
Okay, go ahead.
But after we tack, we'll see if this other one isn't a gravy tack, hard a lee. I'll help you by heading up, and then we'll discuss what went wrong.
Okay.
Look out for that sea lion. He almost took a bite out of our bow. Trim. That's why the guy headed up. Good, that's fine, honey. Now, the reason that we came out with a big belly in our Genoa that we had to then crank in was because you were prepared to cast off, but not prepared to haul in.
Okay.
See what we can do about it this time.
Because I didn't have it in my hand?
Well, you were looking at the cast off line, which is sort of way secondary.
Right.
When you're tacking, it's the new active Genoa sheet that has your attention.
Right.
And no, with no slack in it and no fouls, and the right number of turns on the winches.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So take a look at the luff of the mainsail. You see the scallops in it? On the bottom, the waviness of where the slides are on the track.
Yeah.
In light air, you wouldn't notice that, but now we have 10 knots, 15 knots, and that means that we need to tighten our main halyard up a little more to get rid of those scallops. Ready about.
When will we tighten that up?
Ready? We can do it later. Ready about. You do notice, though, that this is the gravy tack, right? We're making a much better diagonal toward our destination on this tack than we were on the other.
Right. Makes sense.
And heartily. You're doing it again. You're paying a lot of attention to that sheet, which doesn't matter. That's the sheet that matters.
Wait a second.
What a friendly helmsman.
No, it's a good point. But it's funny because there's a moment where you still have to hang out over there.
Let's see how that works the next time.
Okay.
Right. It's the other line that now in mid-channel that you want to tend to your other line, because that's the next active Genoa sheet.
This is fine. We wrap it around twice at this point.
Twice as good, I think. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Take all the slack out. All the slack out.
Okay.
Right.
And now this one, I'm just going to dump it.
You're going to prepare to cast off. First, you've assured that there are no fouls in the line, and it'll run through the blocks.
Yes. So preparing to
So ready about.
means I'm going to get it in my hand and leave it twice.
I'll tell you when to dump it. You dump it when it first starts to break, and heartily, not yet, heartily. And when it first breaks,
Right.
this feels better. This feels much better. And if you're quick, you won't have to winch much. Good. Very nice. the coordination between the helmsman, that's me, and the crew, that's you so far, is really important. He can screw you, the helmsman can screw you up completely by just turning too fast or not paying attention to what you're doing. But when you get in sync with each other, it's really almost effortless. All right, so now you're the skipper and I'm the crew. I've got the slack out of my lines, my head is screwed on straight. I think I need all that on there.
Right.
Ready?
About lead. Come on, Dad. Harder, harder. Faster. Just kidding. Very nice. So this is where we're going to gain all our speed going this pack. Lovely.
So what's going to happen with the sails when we bear off?
They're gonna luff.
How are you going to retrim them? You're going to let them out, right? I mean, that's all I mean.
Yeah, we're gonna let them out.
Yeah, so prepare to let them out.
Okay.
Starting with the Genoa. Bearing off. So just let it out in concert with the turn. Looks good. Because I think there'll be a different wind when we get past the breakwater. And for that reason, let's not change the mainsail set yet, because we don't know what's going to happen when we come around the corner. If you'd like a pelican as a pet. So let's see what happens to the breeze, Alex. Right now we're sort of, we're on about a beam reach. My goodness, look at the radical change, as in there's no wind out here. And you can let the mainsail out. I would let it out for today. I let it out a whole lot till it luffs, just like you would with a laser. Now take a look at the mainsail and I know what you're going to say. It has full-length battens, meaning that it's not as easy to see it luffing, but obviously it's luffing, so trim it in until it stops luffing. What do you think? I agree. See, take it off the winch, because the sail has to luff a little bit for it to come down easily, you know? So we're headed directly into the wind, and now you can lower the mainsail. And this mainsail will come down very fast if there's no foul in the halyard line. So when you're convinced there's no foul, you can lower the thing, and watch how fast the tide sail track comes down. This is just temporarily till we get back in the slip, right? I'd put it in neutral and put on one of the dock lines first.
Okay. So get out, go around. It's in neutral. It's in idle.
I would put the spring line on. It's just the easiest line to put on.
Hold on, hold on.
It's only 17 or 18,000 pounds.
Alright.
So Alex, what do you think? How did that go today?
It went well. I felt really good sailing, you know, while we were sailing and putting the sails up and doing the jib and the lines and everything. It was all kind of new, but a little bit was coming back to me from when I was little, but still thinking about the engine and reverse and forward and that stuff. I think the actual sailing feels good.
The issue of other boats is still worrisome, isn't it?
Yeah, especially today was a pretty calm day, but on the weekends there's boats everywhere going in different directions, and if you weren't around, I could see myself being nervous about that.
So I'll manipulate these things. Go down below and take a look at what they actually look like. This will be the shifter on the transmission. And this is useful because today, you know, our cars are push button things. Whereas a parking brake used to be mechanical. And we don't have so many mechanical systems, but all the systems on this boat are mechanical. And so is our transmission. That's forward gear, neutral, reverse, neutral. You could see the lever moving, and now you know at least what the connection is between what your hand is doing and what the transmission is doing. And you can see the throttle movement. Full throttle, Alex. And then back to straight up and down, which is on this boat about 1400 RPM, maybe less. And then back to idle cutoff, which is how we stop the engine on this boat.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
So Al, you notice that we're probably going to only use about half the Genoa today because it's blowing 16, 17, and I've already set the jib fair leads back because the strain on the line to the clew of the Genoa will be a correct angle here. If it was a full Genoa, we would move the car all the way back to about here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that ought to bring back the good old days, Al.
Yeah.
Do you notice any difference in the size of their sails?
Yeah, they're so much smaller.
They are smaller.
Oh, they capsized. But as we know, that's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. Looks like a sailing class, doesn't it?
Yeah, I need to sail a laser again one day.
And what we'll do, right, as we said, is we'll start off at least with our Genoa jib just at the 50% mark, and that'll cut our sail area, our foresail area in half. We'll go from 420 square feet to only about 200 and 220.
And does that actually slow down your speed?
No, because if the boat is overpowered, it can only go so fast. This boat, somewhere around 7 knots is hull speed. And everything else is just to look good, right? I'll deploy the Genoa halfway. You can hold this course, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to put 4 wraps on the big Genoa drum now, because there's a little bit of breeze out there. So that I can maintain control of it, you know?
Right.
So what's your guess as to the wind speed?
I'd say 15, 16. I don't see too many white caps. There's some. But it doesn't seem as windy as I thought it was going to be out here.
I agree. You can feather up a little bit into the wind.
Okay.
Feather up a little if the heel's over too much.
Okay.
When it's breezy, feathering up into the wind is your brake pedal.
Right.
It reduces the helm and it reduces all the problems.
There's a big wave right here.
What's your anemometer say?
It says 17?
Yeah, just what we predicted, right?
Right, yeah.
How's it feel?
Feels good. Pretty good.
You can hear that bump when a wave hits the side of the boat.
Yeah.
Sometimes that means you're about to get soaked. So it's only blowing 17. We're on a beam reach with huge scallops in our mainsail. I'll fix that XM attack. On a lovely day. Keep going a straight line on a beam reach. We can probably adjust the sails better, but basically, sailing in waves, you want to go in a straight line, it takes a certain amount of effort from the helmsman. Since you want to tack and go over on the other tack, I suppose you want me to do something with the traveler.
Alright, here we go. Mark
put in a reef. For one thing, we need to get rid of those scallops because it's blowing 17, and we're doing okay with half of the general. But let's put in a reef just for the fun of it, and it'll certainly make the rest of the steering easier, right?
Yeah.
So what is our speed right now?
Our speed is a 6.25.
6.25, 6.5. Good. I don't think we'll slow down much at all. First thing I do before reefing, with slab reefing, is to assure myself that this line here, which is the first reef, the blue one, is correctly positioned on the boom, which it sort of is. That's fine. That's the second reef that goes up to the higher. We won't be using that one, just the first reef. What's going to happen is that the sail is going to go down to the first reef, which is this line of cringles across the belly of the sail. And out forward you can see the downhaul, the first downhaul. There's the second reef downhaul. We won't be using the first reef downhaul. So the sequence of this is going to be slack off the main sheet so that the sail luffs. Then we're going to lower the sail using the main halyard. Then we're going to pull down the downhaul number 1, which is here on the deck. And then we're going to pull down and crank in reef number 1, which is the blue line over there. And when we've done those 4 things, we should have a reefed sail. It's hard to keep your footing when the boat's doing this. So what you do is to slow everything down. There's no rush. It's a beautiful day. We'll take this in stages. If something doesn't work out just right, we'll just fix it. But one thing we'll make sure we don't do is allow ourselves any obvious fouls that we could have stopped by thinking a little bit ahead. And of course, by putting in a reef, we'll automatically solve the problem of the scalloped luff. Make sense?
Makes sense. Steadied out quite a bit. Nice. Yeah. It feels much more steady. With the steering and it's not as rough and hiking out as much as it was, so that's good. Reefs are good.
Just got splashed?
What?
Did you just got splashed?
Totally splashed.
I'm terribly sorry. You know, this doesn't happen in golf.
It does not.
Well, I think once you get going on a day like this, everything is fine, but it's the maneuvering and the raising and lowering of the sails. The primary difference is that everything flaps. There's more noise. That's basically it. it becomes critical now, only now, that we do everything the same way. You know that when we hold on to, when we attach the halyard to the top of the sail, even when there's no wind at all, we don't let it go. Our habit is to always hold on to the halyard, because if you let it go, when it's windy, blows out that way, you can't get it anymore. You really can't get it anymore. And equally true for the winches. Those 3 turns that we put on routinely when there's no wind, even to fill the sails, we also put 3 on in heavier, or maybe even 4. The whole idea is to sail the boat when there's hardly any wind, just as you would when there's lots of wind. We always do things in the same sequence, in the same way, so that we have a baseline for how to operate the boat when it's windy and it gets confusing and loud and you can't hear your girlfriend screaming anymore. That's great. Since I'm at the helm, I'll jibe it. People are so afraid of driving boats. I think they've been taught that the boat will explode if the boom swings across unopposed. And they've been told that they always have to pull the boom amidships. Yeah, and yet, on a modern boat, if your boom can't swing amidships, then you got a problem. We've got a reef in, which makes it even easier to do what some people call a flying jibe. But there's a trick to it. The other way to do it is to continue through the jibe so that the boom doesn't slam over, called a J jibe sometimes, which goes like this. Prepare to jibe, coming over. Now I spin the wheel so that by the time the boom gets there, it hardly lusts at all. Then you have to bear off. But that's the only way single-handers can really do it at sea. And sometimes it does take a while to get back on course. Well done. Here's to, I don't know if you're really ready or ready for what, but here's the father-daughter sailing team.
Aye, aye. Cheers. Here's to it.
This is video 3 of our sails together, moving up to a larger boat. What's left? Where do you feel you are at this point?
I feel comfortable. I feel much better than I did starting this. I don't know if I am ready to go out alone at this point, but I can certainly grab a few friends and take the boat out and you know, go for a sail. And then I think I can get us back into the slip.
I had to get a first class or 101 certificate or whatever it is called to charter boats myself 20 years ago, but I was already an experienced sailor. But if somebody wants to charter a boat in the Caribbean or just around the Chesapeake, this is, I think, your level of knowledge is enough to certainly do it. But what concerns would you have to further explore before you were really ready? Are you ready now?
Yeah, I feel good about the understanding the engine and coming in and out of slips, and I feel good about the lines and how, you know, sailing actually works with the wind angles and understanding, you know, how to get where I want to go the most efficiently. I'd say I wouldn't be comfortable at this point with just the leftover unknowns of possibly sailing without, you know, a captain, or sailing with just friends. But I feel that, you know, on a whole, on this boat and this size boat, I feel pretty good.
Well, you're right, it's bigger than a laser. It weighs 16 or 18,000 pounds, it's 38 feet long, and it can be a handful. But you did great. And if you ever want to take this boat out, I'd love for you to invite me.
Well, thank you, Dad. That's great. I'm ready to do it. Thanks for your expertise. Thanks for showing me the ropes, literally. And thanks for a whole lifetime of sailing lessons and being with you on a boat. It's been my privilege.